Hello guys, my name's Colin and this is Colin Talks Crypto. I have been an advocate for EOS for a very long time, since the beginning, actually before the ICO began, when I first watched Dan's whiteboard presentation on the EOS blockchain, before the blockchain even launched, before there was an ICO. I have made some adjustments to my portfolio, and in the name of being transparent and open with my subscribers, I'm going to share the fact that I just sold 33%, 1/3 of my total remaining EOS tokens. I now hold just 10%. And on the screen right now, you are looking at my portfolio as it stands today. In this video, I'm going to explain why I made that trade as such a bullish EOS proponent. Okay guys, so I've been holding EOS since the beginning, since the ICO almost 3 years ago. I guess it was about 2.5 years ago. And you can see my portfolio right now on the screen for everyone to look at here. I have 45% Bitcoin, 41% Ethereum, and I now hold just 10% EOS, down from 15% just a few days ago. It's worth noting that I used to hold, I think at one point I held about 38% EOS in my portfolio. That was about 1.5 years ago, maybe 2 years ago. It was the lion's share of EOS that I held. And about 1 year ago, I sold 20% of my EOS for Bitcoin. And many were questioning that decision. And in retrospect, all I can say is that it was the best decision I could have made at that point in time. In fact, if I could go back in time, I wish that I had sold 100% of my EOS tokens for Bitcoin. Financially speaking, purely financially speaking, that would have been the best investor move I could have made in hindsight. Now, of course, hindsight's always 20/20, and we're never going to know the best decision until it's been made and some time has elapsed. And so when I put myself out there in these videos and I share what I've been doing with my trades, I open myself up to criticism, and some of you will not agree with my decisions, and that's okay. I'm being bold enough and brave enough to just have the courage to show you my portfolio and what I'm doing with it. And if nothing else, I think that that should speak quite a lot. So I'm very glad that I sold about 20% of my EOS for Bitcoin about 1 year ago. It helped cut my losses, but it definitely didn't stop the bleed. I would say that my efforts with EOS in the past 1.5 years have all been, as far as investor sentiment goes, have all been geared toward stopping the bleed. I guess I should call that the title of this video, EOS, Stop the Bleed. Now, I'm going to, as always, keep it really real with you guys, okay? I love the EOS blockchain. I think that it is phenomenal. It is feature rich, and I'm not all negative. Some of you, I think, have a hard time hearing both sides of the story, or if you're holding a cryptocurrency, can only hear the good things about it. And anyone that says anything negative about your cryptocurrency, you immediately go into attack mode or cancel culture or take them down, basically, that kind of mindset. And I just look at this very neutrally as an investor. Trust me, I have plenty of money involved in cryptocurrency, and the last thing I need is my emotions getting in the way of my decisions. And the next last thing I need is other people's emotions involving themselves with my decisions. Like, I really don't care. My decisions are my decisions to make. I take full responsibility for my decisions as an investor, and you should too. And so if you don't like something I'm doing, that's fine, that's okay. But please express it in a friendly manner and we can have a discussion about it. And I encourage you to keep an open mind. And I think as an investor, one of the most important things one can do is be willing to look at both the good and the bad of anything they have invested money in, because you're only going to shoot yourself in the foot if you do not look at both sides of the coin. And perhaps that's why I did lose money in EOS over the past 1.5 years, because I didn't fully face the fact that there are some pretty glaring negatives. I would say, actually, to be honest, I did look at those things. I just didn't act on them. I didn't let the red flags be an indicator to me to take action with my portfolio. So first of all, just to very much keep this in a both positive and pros and the cons light, I'm going to share some positives with you. So like I said, EOS is a highly performant, highly feature-rich smart contract blockchain. That has not changed for me one bit. I do have some questions about its decentralization. I used to defend it. Now I think that the accusations were actually fairly correct. It's gotten worse as time has gone on. I'll try not to spend too much time on that because I've covered it fairly extensively in the past. But EOS, at its core, with a few flaws fixed, I think would be an amazing blockchain. For example, getting rid of 30 votes per token, implementing Dan's long-term staking resource pools to incentivize long-term holding and staking, something that exchanges can't do as well as a regular user, and that would help decentralize the blockchain. And these things are being worked on, but they're not fixed yet, and they haven't been solved. And these are the red flags that I've been looking at. I guess maybe I just kind of hoped that they'd be fixed by now. I do take responsibility, absolutely. I saw these red flags, and you could say I ignored them. I think I had faith in block.one, and I had faith in the blockchain that it would fix itself quicker than it has, and it just hasn't done it. So I'm taking action. Every once in a while, I periodically review my cryptocurrencies, or any investment for that matter, and I reevaluate the risk-reward proposition. And so this reevaluation I've just done has led me to decide to sell about a third of my EOS, to the point where now I'm down to 10%. Now, at the beginning of this video, I told you I started with like 38% at one point. I had 38% EOS, and I sold 20% of that. But an enormous amount of that was just natural price reduction. We had a crash in March when all the cryptos dropped and crashed, and most of the top performing cryptos recovered. EOS was not one of those to recover, as I think actually Tai Zen addressed in his video, and he's very correct. Ethereum and Bitcoin have all bounced back since March. EOS has kind of just straggled along on the floor, and it's just continually bled value. And it's so painful as an investor to see your investment bleed and bleed and bleed and bleed value over and over and over. And, I'm a holder. Trust me, if there's anyone who knows how to hold, it is me. I've learned I need to take a balanced approach to holding and then taking profits. Now I'm learning I need to also observe red flags and take action accordingly, and to proportion my portfolio. So anyways, guys, that's kind of what happened. And I'm going to start with some bullish news here, guys. I'm not all negative. Like I told you, I'm not negative about EOS. I think it's amazing. It just has a couple of faults that are very critical in my opinion. So some bullish news here, guys. Greymass has just done something amazing for the EOS blockchain. They have basically just created a prototype here and an implementation for a system where you can pay a transaction fee. And you'll notice this is 0.0008 EOS for the transaction fee. And this is an option. Right now, EOS, of course, is a feeless transaction system. It's a feeless blockchain. You don't have to pay a fee every time you make a transaction. And that was and is its great claim to fame. You know how annoying it is on Ethereum when you have to calculate the gas to make a transaction. It's a pain in the ass, to be honest. It's a pain in the butt. And so EOS, when Dan designed it, decided to make this as user-friendly as possible and to get rid of the entire fee-based model. And so he did that. And so now instead of paying a fee out of your holdings, you have resources. And that's what the CPU and the net and all that is, the resources that you need to make transactions and to interact with the EOS blockchain. And it is a brilliant, brilliant idea. But we started seeing that the free resources got consumed. And I think it would be fair to say there's a natural law in cryptocurrency and blockchain whereby if you have free resources, they are going to be used. They're not going to be left for everyone to take as they wish or leave them for someone else. They will be used because it's an opportunity for someone to capitalize on those free resources. And about a year and a half or a year ago, we saw the EIDOS, EIDOS, kind of like a DOS attack on the EOS blockchain where it utilized all the free resources. Basically, there were no more free resources and people had difficulty transacting. And to this day, people have difficulty transacting because you need resources staked to be able to transact. But not everyone has a bunch of resources staked. And that's why we have a new resource model coming to try to improve that system. But one thing that we vitally needed, and I argue that we needed this from the very beginning, we just didn't know it. And I don't fault Dan for not seeing that coming. I don't think that any of us could have seen that the blockchain would have had all its free resources consumed like that. But in retrospect, it does seem kind of obvious, actually. because, something free will get used. It just kind of seems logical, right? Well, that's what happened. And so what Greymass has done has made it so that any dApp can now, alternatively, if the user does not have enough resources, send with a transaction fee. He can pay with 0.0008 EOS, and instead of having CPU staked, or instead of having RAM or net or all that stuff, he can just pay a transaction fee. And in this case, 0.0008. Let's just do the math here real quick. Let's assume that EOS is $2.50 right now, and that would be 0.002 of a dollar. So like 0.2 of a penny is how much that transaction would cost here. So very, very inexpensive compared to things like Ethereum or Bitcoin, where it costs 25 cents to dollars to send a transaction. So this is an awesome solution, something we should have seen from the very beginning of the EOS blockchain. Greymass, an amazing block producer, should be in the top 21, would be in the top 21, I argue, if there wasn't cartel collusion with exchanges voting with user funds. They would be in the top 21, just like so many other amazing block producers on the EOS blockchain. But instead, they're ranked 36, outside the top 21. At least they're getting paid. They're in the paid zone, but they deserve so much more because they've just designed this optional system where if you do have the resources, go ahead and transact feeless. But if you don't have the resources, you can now pay with 0.2 pennies and make that transaction go through. And the great thing about this is it's super user friendly, because the most user unfriendly thing you could have is a transaction failing because you don't have the resources, because the blockchain's kind of congested and it's being used, which is a good thing, and getting an error that says CPU error, not enough CPU, transaction canceled. And that's the most horrid experience you could possibly have. And I think that's pushed away an enormous amount of users. So for Greymass to just solve this is utterly incredible. So this is your positive EOS news for the day. Guys, don't say that I don't say anything positive. I love EOS. And this is an example of a block producer doing amazing things with the EOS blockchain. Fee and feeless transactions. Now you have a choice. Okay, guys, so now let's get back into my portfolio and why I did what I did. So you saw the pie chart. There it is. And I'm just going to read you some things first here. So I said, just keeping all my followers in the loop. Honestly, I wasn't even going to share this information, but I feel like I do have a bit of responsibility as a content creator to be transparent with my followers. And so after half a day, I was like, I just need to share this information. And so here it is. It's not that I'm trying to be bragging or attacking or any of these things that people might accuse me of. It's just me being open and transparent because I think it's the right thing to do, and that's it. So I said, today I sold 33% of my remaining EOS and I bought Ethereum with it. My portfolio is now just 10% EOS, down from 15% previously. It's sad because I originally sold my Ethereum to get that EOS, and it was a big loss. I really wish, in hindsight, on a purely investor viewpoint, that I had not bought any EOS. Not because I don't think the blockchain's awesome, but because it was an enormous loss of capital to me. And so now I feel like I'm better proportioned. 10% is a lot more safe and a risk-reward proportion for me right now, based on the fact that I don't see a lot of these problems getting fixed. I've heard that EOS New York, shout out to Kevin Rose, and I think his name's Rick, these two guys, awesome dudes on the EOS New York team, which was hired by block.one. I've heard kind of the rumor that something big is coming. I'm going to guess it's voting with the full vote weight of block.one's votes. I don't know that they necessarily have enough to make a huge difference on these standings, but it's a welcome addition. It's a welcome improvement to probably where the top 21 are right now. And maybe there's more coming, because I think Kevin Rose kind of alluded to the fact that not just a vote, but maybe some marketing or maybe something else kind of all in tandem, all timed together. He basically alluded to the fact that something's coming down the pipeline and they want to time everything and launch it all at the same time. And so I do hope that they have something up their sleeves. And anyone who thinks that I wish, bad upon EOS because I suddenly just sold a third is mistaken grossly. I hope that EOS and block.one and the EOS New York team has something amazing up their sleeves, because I need to recoup an enormous amount of loss that I had with EOS. This 10% here, I'm holding it because I do believe there is some hope for EOS. I do think there are some big plans in the pipeline. I think that they might be taking too long to execute, but I do want to recoup my loss on EOS. If my EOS can climb to like 20% or 30% of my portfolio again, with whatever comes out, maybe it's Bitcoin transacting as layer 2 on EOS, or whether it's Voice finally getting put on the mainnet, or any of these other things, or Dan's staking pool idea, etc. I need that value to recoup. So I am hoping the value of EOS goes up. Don't let anyone say that I wish for the failure of EOS or that I hope it fails, because that's cutting my own throat. I still have 10%. I would have sold all of it. That's the thing. I would have sold all of my EOS had I not hoped and thought that it might have a chance to appreciate grossly in value, especially with the likes of Bitcoin and Ethereum having huge scaling issues, huge congestion and fees higher than ever seen before. And I think we're going to see more of that this coming bull run. So for me, EOS and Bitcoin Cash are my hedges against Bitcoin and Ethereum's failures to scale. Now, Ethereum is addressing this with layer 2 scaling, even for Bitcoin, and Ethereum 2.0 is around the corner, but it's just phase 0. I recognize it's just phase 0. It's not like the whole blockchain is done. We barely even have one shard on Ethereum 2.0, let alone massive scaling, which will come in later phases. So I'm not fooled thinking that we're going to have some immediate scaling on the Ethereum 2.0 blockchain. I do think we're going to see a lot of hype, and it is the first name brand, first mover recognition that Ethereum holds in the smart contract space. And as a lesson here, guys, I did learn a lesson, and it's the same lesson I kind of learned with Bitcoin recently. It's that it's very difficult to unseat an incumbent. It's very difficult to unseat the first place mover in any market. I would call Bitcoin the first place in pure money value transfer, and I would call Ethereum the first place in the smart contract field. And I thought that EOS would unseat it, and maybe it would have if it didn't have those governance flaws that we're trying to fix now while the plane is mid-flight. But it didn't. And so Ethereum is number 1, Bitcoin is number 1. It's very difficult. Look at how much value Bitcoin Cash has dropped. Bitcoin Cash is superior to Bitcoin in every way, basically. However, it has dropped in value because it's not that first name brand recognition. I love Bitcoin Cash, just like I love EOS, but it's very difficult. So I think that if we see a tremendous stagnation on Bitcoin and Ethereum in the coming year, we may see my pie percentages increase for Bitcoin Cash and EOS. And that is why I hold them. It's like my safety, my insurance against the failures to scale for these two blockchains. So I want to read this to you because I actually posted this several days before I made my trade. I tend to be very open and transparent with my thoughts. And whether you guys like to hear the negative and the good or not, I say it, I speak it, right? You're free to unfollow me if you don't want to hear me talk about my thoughts on the subject. It's Colin Talks Crypto. It's not Colin Talks Only Bullish Crypto. It's Colin Talks about both the good and the bad of crypto. And so I made this post a couple days before I actually pulled the trigger. I didn't know that I was going to pull the trigger. It's just my natural thought process as I'm mulling over my options and I'm speaking freely. And so I think that I summarized it really well here, the thoughts leading up to why I did sell. And so I'll read you a couple things here. The EOS mainnet is being financially neglected by block.one in relationship to how much money they earned from its ICO. Remember, they earned $4 billion, right? The amount block.one is willing to spend on EOS directly, not EOS.io in general, or Ethereum, is disproportionately low to how much capital was raised by those who instilled their faith and trust in block.one to spearhead EOS's growth. We all gave block.one our money, right? We made them rich. And how much value on a percentage basis? They've done hackathons and they've doled out very small amounts of EOS VC money to EOS dApps, but they've also done it to Ethereum dApps too, which is fucking crazy. But on a percentage basis, how much really have they given back to the EOS mainnet? Very little, I think. I think they've given far more to the Bitcoin blockchain, buying 140,000 Bitcoin, which have appreciated tremendously, which is great. But Where's the love for the EOS mainnet? The EOS mainnet makes up the investors who made block.one financially what they are. And I think it's wrong of block.one to neglect them financially so much. Sure, they're going to vote soon. Good job. That's awesome. But where's this resource being massively poured into those who made you what you are? I think that if you are watching this and you work for block.one, I would say shame on you for not giving back to those who made you what you are. I love the EOS blockchain. I love the EOS IO software, but you have to pat the backs of those who built you and made you what you are. If someone gives me $4 billion and then I give them 10% of my value back and I just kind of ignore them, that's a big middle finger in my books. And that's part of the reason that I sold 33% of my EOS. Okay, to continue reading here, I said, that being said, EOS as a standalone blockchain is enormously powerful. It does have some governance centralization factors that I only see getting worse in time if block.one does not step up to the plate. And honestly, it may be too late. And that's another reason why I sold a third of my remaining EOS. I think it could be too late. block.one's relative silence about future plans and roadmap doesn't help either. I've heard that it's possible that they are forced to be silent for legal reasons. Maybe they have some legal issues going on behind the scenes, legal battles, whatever's going on. That could be, that very well could be. But it doesn't help me. It doesn't help the average EOS token holder. It doesn't help the average investor. It doesn't help. So maybe they shouldn't have got into legal problems. That would be my statement on that. And I go on to say here, I think that block.one cares more about EOS IO, the software, and institutional adoption than the EOS mainnet itself. All these EOS IO chains popping up do not help the EOS mainnet. You don't see this same type of behavior with Cardano or Polkadot or Tezos. On these blockchains, there is one main chain and that's it. EOS's tech and features are solid, but its support from its creator, block.one, is not. So sadly, that is truly how I feel, and that is why I sold a third of my EOS. For those wondering, I'm still running my proxies. I have the Colin crypto proxy, the #1 proxy on EOS. It's not like I'm some small fish in the pond here, and I hope that block.one would take notice. For whatever reason, Brendan Bloomer stopped replying to me. I think he made it a personal policy to stop ever responding to something that I say, and that's up to him. That's fine. Maybe he found our interactions toxic and didn't like it. Fine. But, I am the largest proxy on EOS, and, here I am selling a third of my remaining EOS after selling 20% before, after losing a bunch of value. And to not listen to me is to kind of give the middle finger to the community, because I'm voting on behalf of over 11 million tokens. And here I kind of summarized some of the dislikes about the situation with EOS right now. block.one is too slow to act. We're almost 3 years in here, 2.5 years in. And basically all of the problems that we've seen over the past couple of years remain, except for the very early ones when it was actually possible to iterate and upgrade the EOS blockchain. We got the resource exchange in place, which then actually ended up causing problems, etc. block.one is too slow to act. And I know they have a very long-term vision, and I commend them for that, but I think it almost is too long. It's like my criticisms of Cardano was that it was too slow. Well, block.one is starting to follow into the Cardano slowness to act situation. Secondly, where's the marketing? Brendan Bloomer talked about seeing the most explosive, crazy, effective crypto marketing to date for block.one and for EOS. I think he might have said EOS IO. But where's the marketing? And again, I think we may be seeing that coming up soon, but I have no facts about that, no proof. So I sold a third. I'm not waiting my life away as my investment dwindles and bleeds its value over the months and months and months. Thirdly, where's the VC funding?
EOSVC is a program that's going to deploy $1 billion of capital into EOS projects over the course of the next couple of years. We're now making a formal commitment to put the majority of the capital that's come in through the token sale back into the innovators.
Recently, we learned that block.one's EOS VC branch, notice the name EOS VC, not ETH ETH VC, not Ethereum VC, not EOSIO VC. We learned that they're basically funded some Ethereum projects. And that's the money that EOS ICO investors gave to block.one, and then block.one gave it to Ethereum dApps. Instead of funding dApps that sorely need it, you can read the stories on Twitter about those who have made dApps that need funding and they're striving to succeed on the EOS blockchain, and the EOS VC has just ignored them and made it so they can't get funding. That's a middle finger to EOS community, and it's not okay. I'll be the one who stands up and says that. It's not okay to ignore your community. It's hypocritical because block.one and Brendan Bloomer and these guys all openly acknowledged how important community is. Dan himself acknowledged this with the Steem and Hive split. The Hive blockchain is the community moving over. We all acknowledged how important community is. So for block.one to say that and then to ignore the dApps, not fund the dApp communities, not engage in conversation, it's a middle finger to the EOS community, and it's not okay. So yeah, EOS VC funds non-EOS projects. The fourth reason I have a dislike here is that where's the governance upgrades? It's taking freaking forever. And as I shared recently, we have 66 days until we possibly get the new EOS resource model put in place to alleviate some of the congestion on transactions. But it's 66 days on top of a past year and a half we've been waiting for it. It's too slow. Back to the first one, it's too slow. When you have $4 billion, you can make things happen faster if you're not too stingy to give back to the community that built you and made you what you are. Too stingy and too slow, block.one. Where's the governance upgrades? Make it happen. You have the funds. Stop pretending like you don't. Okay, next reason is that Voice still doesn't run on EOS. Voice was supposed to be an example of Dan's statement, we're going to eat our own dog food. Dan said this early on. And eating one's own dog food means basically you make the dog food, then you eat it. You make the blockchain, then you build on the blockchain. And that's what Dan's all about. And I think he's going to do that. I'm not calling him a liar at all. But I think it's too slow. You know, again, $4 billion. You think you can iterate a social media platform a little faster if you're not so cheap to dole out the cash. These guys, like, must have a 100-year vision instead of like 5-year or something like that. Like, make this happen. Build this on EOS. This is one of those things that the EOS investors came to expect as a application, a use case, a valid use case on the EOS mainnet, and a valid use case of that scale, assuming it approached the scale of Facebook, for example, or even Steem, would drive a tremendous value to the blockchain because it would have resource utilization and drive up the price of the token. But here we are, and it's been like, I don't know, a year, and still, I have no idea when Voice is going to run on the actual EOS mainnet, or even if it will, because block.one won't commit. They're non-committal to the EOS blockchain. Again, kind of a middle finger. So hurry it up. Fund the development, get it finalized, and put it on the mainnet. It's too slow. Too slow, guys. Okay, you can see my passion here. Okay, lastly, EOS IO instead of EOS. And I got sick of hearing this because it's a misalignment of the funding that the original ICO investors gave to block.one. ICO investors did not invest in other EOS IO blockchains. Many of these other EOS IO blockchains give nothing back to the original EOS token holders. And so really, anyone who tells you that they should care about other EOS IO chains, I think is just misleading themselves. I think it's fine that they start their other chains, but it doesn't mean that I should care about it. As an EOS token holder, I get nothing from that. It's exactly the same as me buying EOS tokens and then rooting on Cardano. Like if Cardano was built on the EOS IO software, or Tezos was built on the EOS IO software, like, why do I care? I didn't invest in that blockchain. They give me nothing. It's not even the same thing. It has nothing to do with EOS. So until the day when IBC exists, and IBC stands for Inter-Blockchain Communication, when that finally perhaps links all the EOS IO blockchains together, then maybe we will see some kind of a union of the power, a uniting and scaling of all that different blockchain. And maybe that will then benefit the EOS token holders. But again, too slow to act. We heard about IBC from the very beginning, 3 years ago nearly, and still nowhere to be seen. Seems like everything that's happening on EOS is happening outside of block.one. We have, like, for example, Greymass at the beginning of this video, solving the fee issue by adding optional fees for transactions. That's created by a block producer, Greymass. And then we have IBC solved by DApp Network, Liquid Apps, amazing team, not block.one. Again, we have someone else other than block.one solving the problems that block.one should have been solving. So awesome for the community, but how much love is the community getting? It's getting a big fat middle finger in a lot of cases, and that's really unfortunate for me to say. Freaking contribute to the mainnet, block.one, please. So in summary, EOS is powerful, but I expect more. And I think that if block.one takes into consideration any of the things I'm saying, we will have a much more flourishing and prosperous blockchain. And that's one thing we all have in common. We all want EOS to succeed. We all want EOS's token value to go up. Even block.one, who holds 100 million of the tokens, we all want EOS to do better. So let's make it happen. I think that block.one, being a very new company, has made some mistakes in this area. And that's understandable. We all make mistakes. I make mistakes. It's how we fix them that matters. So moving forward, I would like to see more communication from block.one, more speed of delivery from block.one, more financial resources poured back into those who made them what they are from block.one. And I would like to see EOS become great again. Thanks a bunch, guys. Smash the like button. Please subscribe. Please share. Hit the bell icon. I love you all, and I'll talk to you again soon.